We don't mean to brag, but this is a legendary show. One of the greats in linebacker U history, Paul Posluszny, joins us for our Impact interview. Actually, two of the all-time best are with us as Sean Lee checks into the lineup and tells us he soaked up everything he could from Paul.
And I just drafted off him. I slept on his couch. I think I remember I probably didn't want me there half the time, but I slept on his couch. I ate his food. I followed everything he did.
We call an audible in our scrap metal segment and give it to Scrap himself. Why a former Heisman runner-up and first-team All-American are sending their congrats to Coach Bradley. And listen here, Buster. I bet you think you're pretty cute. Well, you're right. We put out the call for pride pooches, and the viewers delivered. Let's get the second half of the season started with Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. Hope you enjoyed the bye. Let's see, I battled with spotted lanternflies, got a haircut, went on a day hike. That's my list. I assume you two kept busy as well.
Tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes.
Friday, high school football.
Of course, it had something to do with football for you, right? Sure. Absolutely. And there were some good football games to watch over the weekend for sure. Saturday, Sunday, all that good deal. But Penn State, they're 5-1 at the midway point. We're back in football mode for the second half of the regular season. Let's go to the opening drive. Now, we know about the more serious injuries. It's the nagging ones that you don't see that really get a boost from the extra rest, fellas.
No question about it. And you get a chance to give a guy a day. Not only just the nagging injuries, but also mentally. It's a grind when you go 6 straight weeks. And so I think they'll benefit from that.
And I think the off week came at a perfect time for them this year of all years. Perfect for the time off.
Well, when you set up a schedule, you get 6 games, the bye week, another 6 games. I think they knew somebody when they made the schedule.
Well, it's amazing how many teams had bye weeks last week. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Illinois had one too as well.
But with certain injuries, this week's bye week came at a really good time.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Coach had some words about this particular bye week.
And doing everything he possibly can to put him in the best position to get back as soon as possible, whenever that may be. So we'll see, but it won't be because of a lack of effort on his part. He's going to do everything that he's supposed to do.
As Tom alluded to, Sean Clifford. Yeah, he's a veteran. He's been in this situation before. Of course, you want him as healthy as possible for the Ohio State game on the 30th.
Are you jumping ahead there, Todd?
A little bit.
The Illinois game. But, you know, Tom, we talk about bye weeks, and when you're struggling sometimes when you got Illinois like they are, sometimes guys take those bye weeks and they tweak some things, put a couple things in schematically, and make it tough for you coming against them.
Bye weeks are interesting because if you're on a roll, you hate them. Yep. And if you're not playing well, you love them. So this is going to be an interesting week for Penn State, obviously coming off the loss.
All right, and by the time they are back on the field against Illinois, it's going to be 2 weeks since the Iowa setback. Plenty of time to put the disappointment in the rearview mirror. That's done with productive time on the practice field to reassess and reaffirm those second half goals and plans. So what are you communicating to the players in a practice after a weekend off?
Well, you have a day or two. Sometimes you can work with younger guys, but then you tell them, guys, we got to get back in this thing. We got to put that game behind us, and we got to go out and play Illinois and play really, really well to set a tone for the next 6 weeks.
Most of the time, you're being highly critical of yourself during this time, and you have to. Not only at the players, but the coaches too. Hey, what can we do better? Let's look at ourselves first.
Yeah, that self-scouting aspect of it. We've mentioned a time or two the importance of senior leadership. Safety Jaquan Brisker says, don't worry, we're on it.
Not blaming each other or not being negative or anything like that, you know, just learn from a loss like this, you know, see what we could do to get better on offense, defense, special teams, things like that. And, you know, once we come back, you know, once we come together and things like that and learn, you know, we're going to be fine.
Brisker, definitely one of the guys who needed the rest to heal up from some nagging injuries. He's been exceptional this season. They need him on the field against the Big Ten's better offenses they are about to face in the coming weeks. All right, for this week's Scrap Metal, we're calling an audible. Had to throw Scrap off of our scent because we're giving it to him. Jay, explain.
Next week, Tom Bradley is going to the State Hall of Fame, Pennsylvania State Sports Hall of Fame, and an honor that's well-deserved. And we even rustled up a few things, surprise for you here, Tom.
There's a few people you may know with a message for you, Scrap. Listen up.
Hey, Scrap. Congratulations on being inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. Well deserved. You were a great teammate and friend during our years at Penn State. I wish you the best.
Scrap. Cindy and I, the entire Zordich family, my folks on Hazelwood too, would like to congratulate you on your induction into the PA Sports Hall of Fame. Great stuff, man. Congrats and thanks for all you've done for our family throughout the years.
And look, there he is, pacing the sidelines. It's a kickoff. Everyone's watching the ball except for Tom, who's contemplating his next defense. Congratulations. Enjoy the night.
Thank you very much, you guys. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, we threw a lot of other candidates for the scrap medal up this week just to try and get them off the scent, and we pulled it off.
Well, we had to throw you off the scent a little bit. Congrats. Well done.
Congrats.
Well deserved.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right, still to come, our scouting report on the Fighting Illini. Coach Bradley puts on his soon-to-be Hall of Fame hat and dives into the minds of the offensive coaches from Illinois. Coach Paterno shows us how they can attack with or without Sean Clifford. More Nittany Game Week after this.
Scouting Report is sponsored by Penn State Health, giving you the care you want, where you want it. Visit PennStateHealth.org to find a provider near you.
We're back on Nittany Game Week. Penn State certainly giving Illinois everything possible to worry about leading up to the game, splitting QB reps for the backups, Sean Clifford sightings at practice. It's all part of the strategy, psychology leading up to kickoff. Coach Paterno and Coach Bradley. Here's a couple of guys that always keep things on schedule.
Thanks, Todd. And staying on schedule is going to be important for Illinois, and getting them off schedule will be important for Penn State. And what do we mean by staying on schedule? Take a look. And Tom, talk about that defensively, what you like.
Well, you know, one of the things the offense is going to try to do here, obviously, is, hey, let's go get to 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3, keep the numbers in that range. And defensively, you don't want that. You want to put this team, in particular, in long yardage situations.
No question, because let's take a look at Illinois' offense. They're not a down-the-field throwing team. They like to run the football. Inside zone is one of their bread and butter plays. Tom, talk about that.
Wants a great vision by the back. You want the square shoulders, as you see here, downfield. Always getting some yards. They want positive gains here always. They cannot get knocked off the ball.
And this freshman back is really good. Now let's talk about another blocking scheme. This is a counter scheme where they're going to pull the guard and tackle. Again, giving you a little misdirection, coming back, and then get north and south, Tom.
Very important to read what happens with the guard and the tackle and how they block it on the perimeter. Once again, the back has to have great vision on this play.
Yeah, and you're going to see this back is going to be one that Penn State fans want to keep an eye on. Number 0, he is 6'1", he's 240, and he is tough to bring down. Now let's talk about their pass game. Not a lot there downfield. Their leading receivers only 9 yards per reception, but their play action is good and their tight end is good. Tom, talk about this one.
This is the one thing. This is why the running game has to be important. If the running game's working, then your play action passes are going to be a big part of the game plan.
Yeah, and those 1st and 2nd down play actions are good. And then finally, let's talk about the jet sweep, which is really, this goes in as a pass. And their top receiver, number 1, was started a quarterback against Penn State last year. And this is one of the ways they get in the ball. Talk about that, Tom, with this little sweep.
Well, what happens here, as he comes across, they just flip him the ball, and they're using his athleticism to outrun the perimeter of the defense. They don't even block the one guy. They just get the other guys out and get him onto open field. And they're not looking for a home run here. They're looking for just an outside play to gain some yards.
Yeah, it's unusual to see last year's starting quarterback as your leading receiver. Only 9 yards a carry. But let's talk about their defense. When you talk about them on defense, they play soft coverage. They're going to give you some things throwing the football. And again, that's going to give you some up and back reads. It's going to give you a chance to throw the ball down the field. Take a look at Purdue attacking them here. They get that corner. You can see he's way off. The linebacker's underneath. He comes up underneath. It's going to give you zones to throw into. So I would expect Penn State to be able to pick those apart with a guy like Dotson. Now, where are they good? They're good with the pass rush, 4-man rush, Tom. You used to love these twists as well. These are hard to pick up. They get there with 4 guys. If they can do that, Penn State will have a problem. But talk about this.
Yeah, that's a big, important part of this game. They do not want to blitz. They want to be able to get there with 4 guys. One of the great things is that they do when they play defense, they like a lot of zone. They want eyes on the ball. They want vision, try to stop the big play.
And if they can get there, that'll be a problem. Now, the next thing about Illinois, what do they do well? Let's talk about turnovers. They are +8 in turnover margin, 9th in the country, and they're good down here. Take a look at how they keep Purdue from getting in the end zone in this one. Number 25 for them, Kirby Joseph, has 3 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries. He's a turnover machine, and this obviously turns Purdue away. They gave Purdue all they wanted. And then when you talk about them in the red zone, Penn State's great in the red zone, Tom. Illinois is good in the red zone. Only 50% of the time they give up touchdowns. A lot of times because they're dropping a lot of guys in those pass zones, and talk about how I used to coach those guys up.
Yeah, that's the one thing. If you watch them, a lot of 3-man rush down there, 8-man drop. They're going to make you work to find the open receiver. It's one of the things they do best. They're very good in the red zone.
And they're very happy to let you throw that underneath and make the tackle. And again, everybody knows what Purdue, all Penn State fans know what Purdue did to Iowa last week. This team took Purdue to the wire. So when you get in there Saturday, buckle up, because this is going to be a physical football game. And with that, we will toss it back over to you, Todd.
Got to respect every Big Ten opponent, that's for sure. So we encourage questions and feedback here on Nittany Game Week. You may have heard more than one version of the story about how the famous "We Are" cheer began. We got a question from a viewer in New Jersey that wanted to know which one is historically correct. For the answer, we went to Penn State author and historian Lou Prado, who says it all started with the cheerleaders.
So what they did is the cheer that people was very popular back then was Nittany. That's what it was when I was going to school in the 50s. And the band they yelled that when it came out, try to get the fans going. And it really never took off. It was the cheer, but fans didn't even remember. A lot of fans don't even remember. So the cheerleaders started to say, we got to develop a cheer to get things going.
And they just kept working on it all the way through. Lou was very thorough with the story. We are posting it on our website, NittanyGameWeek.com, so make sure to check it out. Time to take a break. When we come back, our Impact interview. We have not one, but 2 legendary linebackers together. Paul Posluszny and Sean Lee join us to reminisce and tell us what makes the tradition of LBs at PSU so special when Nittany Game Week returns. Well, welcome back. Time for our Impact interview, and we'd be thrilled to have one of them as our guest. Hard to describe the excitement of having both of these legendary linebackers join us together. They're part of a long list of distinguished alumni from Linebacker U, the college accolades all there, along with long and successful NFL careers. All-Americans Paul Posluszny and Sean Lee. We're looking forward to this conversation. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. And I'm going to jump right in. You may have seen the ads for the Heisman House, where a bunch of former winners are all living together. Well, I imagine a Linebacker U house. It's prestigious and a tough-minded group of individuals. What would that experience be like? And give us an idea of something you'd like to see happen when all of the greats get together.
You were told early when you got to Penn State as a freshman, as a linebacker, that we're going to work a certain way. We're going to act a certain way off the field, and we're going to play a certain way on the field. And if you weren't going to be that type of guy, you got told every single day, whether or not it was explicitly or with the way guys worked and the pack left you behind. What I'd like to see all of our games in a film and a cowboy clicker so we can watch all of those highlights of guys running down, quarterbacks, running backs, sit there and talk ball. That's what I'd love.
When Coach Bradley took me on an unofficial visit to Penn State, we sat in the team meeting room and we watched a Linebacker U highlight. And it's LeVar Arrington, Brandon Short, goes back to Shane Conlon, Andre Jones, all these great names, all these All-Americans. And then you just knew that would be something special to be part of. Right? I remember just talking to my dad after that trip. He said, if I were you, I don't know why you would look anywhere, why you would look anywhere else. And I mean, it's because the atmosphere, I guess, in the legacy of it is so special. Right? It's something that we want to be a part of because of what it means, but because of the people that made it, people that were involved in making, Penn State what it is today, and making that great linebacker tradition that exists there.
Sean, we talked with Michael Motti a few weeks ago on the show. He gives you credit for your leadership and setting the example that taught him the legacy of Linebacker U. Your impact went beyond the field, though, with your involvement in Thon, Make-A-Wish, Habitat for Humanity, and a reading program. Where did that motivation to be involved in other things come for you in your life?
Well, it was something that I think was taught to me by my parents, that it's a responsibility, with how lucky we are, the opportunity to play football, to be healthy every day, you have to go out and help. And then coming to Penn State and seeing the tradition, not only on the football field, but what you guys did off the field, the coaches, Coach Paterno, it was part of the culture there. It wasn't just, hey, something we're going to do. It was a requirement because we had to give back. We had so much support from the community at games, times when we weren't playing well. Part of the reason I came to Penn State was I come to an Iowa game where you guys lose 6-4. We've had some tough years in a row. I know. I'm sorry. That's a sore subject for you. That's a sore subject for you. I'm sorry. No, but my point being was there still was 100,000 people in the stands. Yeah. So we had so much support from the community. And I think we all saw it as something, hey, we have to find a way to give back and help because it is a responsibility with all the support we get.
In the 2008 Orange Bowl, Paul gets hurt late in the game. In comes freshman Sean Lee. So that group included Paul, Tim Shaw, Dan Connor. Sean Lee as the backup and Navarro Bowman as a scout team linebacker. In 2013, Sean, Paul, and Navarro were 3 of the top 4 tacklers in the NFL. How did the competition in that room prepare you for your NFL careers?
For me, it's being part of the older guy, that group that you just mentioned. It was so exciting to watch Sean and Navarro and see those guys excel on the field. I mean, they'll talk about Sean and Navarro, all pros, the best in the world. To see guys like have that type of success in the NFL, man, it was so exciting just to be associated.
I mean, it was competition, obviously, because we like to compete every day in the weight room and how we worked. But what I was so amazed was the graciousness of the older guys when I got there, particularly Paul and obviously Tim, Dan. But Paul was a catalyst for me and taught me how to work the right way, how to organize yourself the right way, how to wake up every day, no nonsense, and show up at the weight room at 6 a.m. And I just drafted off him. I slept on his couch. I think I remember I probably didn't want me there half the time, but I slept on his couch. I ate his food. I followed everything he did. And it led the way for me. I mean, that to me was something that I've told him a bunch of times. I mean, it set my career in the right direction. And I think I had the motivation, but to see someone do it the right way day in and day out. I complained a lot when I was young. I got around Paul, never complained, never said a word, just came in, worked every day. For me, having that in front of me and being able to draft off that, it really pushed me to a place that I never thought I could go, not only in college, but in the pros. And I use that going forward.
Well, Paul certainly seemed like he never went hungry, that's for sure. Let's go to 2008. Sean hurts his knee in practice. Guido D'Elia tells a story that shortly after, your phone rings, Sean, and it's Paul calling to say you will be back. What did that call mean to you, Sean? And Paul, what compelled you to reach out so quickly?
That pulled me off the floor. I mean, spring football going into my senior year, we have a great football team, and you're coming on a blitz and you make a cut that you've made 1,000 times and your knee goes on you. And all you can think about is the frustration that you're going to miss this year and how am I going to come back? Am I going to come back the same? And then when you get, one of your great friends and a guy you look up to say, listen, not only are you going to come back, you're going to come back better. And the support I got through that entire thing, not only from him, but the whole entire Penn State community pushed me through. And being able to watch that team and how great they played, and a lot of young guys stepped up. We go to the Rose Bowl that year and had an incredible year.
With injuries are necessary, not unnecessary, but they're going to happen. But it still doesn't make it easy, especially when you know that you're going to miss out on an opportunity. You're going to lose the chance to play for a short period of time. It's one of the most challenging things in football to know that you are not able to help your team when you can be an asset on the field. So, I guess because if it happened to me and you know how it feels, you know how it feels. So I just want to make sure that Sean knew that he had the entire Penn State community behind him and that he had all of us support.
Guys, please hang with us for just a minute. Doesn't happen often to talk with both of you at the same time. We want to keep this going. We're taking a break on the TV side. We will continue our interview with Paul and Sean. So if you want to see the entire conversation with these linebacker legends, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview, along with other web-exclusive content. Nobody was tailgating last week for Penn State. We found some even cuter pride pics. We have some pride pooches to show you as we head into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week. No tailgates last week, so we put the call out for pooch pics The viewers deliver with winners like Buster here. Nobody rocks the hat like Buster. Then there's Nittany hanging out and ready to go. We'll finish off the show with more Pride Pooches. But Penn State's about to embark on a tough 6-week stretch, tougher opponents, harsher weather. What do you expect to see in the next month and a half?
Well, I think the big thing is going to be health, not just obviously the quarterback position, but across the board. They're going to have to be healthy. They have to be healthy in a hurry.
Hey, what I'm looking for is to establish the run game. Whether you have your regular quarterback back or the backup, you got to get that run game going. It gets cold in November too.
Yeah, I was going to say that's part of the harsher weather. Okay, so the first opponent is Illinois. Players to look for in this particular game, guys.
Not great wide receiver core. Tight end could be, you could go somebody to watch. Their offensive line against Penn State's defensive line, and the running back, McCray, we talked about, 240. And then we talk about their defense, Tom. Talk a little about some of the guys. Carney's had some good stats lately.
Yeah, Carney's had some great stats, and Kirby Joseph's a heck of a football player, defensive back. They're the two guys to watch on their defense.
Yeah, we didn't mention Kirby Joseph blocked a punt for a safety, too, so he's all over.
All right, don't miss our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, which includes these local businesses. Our goal is to build a team in the community that supports the show, and that you, in turn, support as a viewer to keep the hometown strong. If you haven't noticed yet, got a lot to share with you when it comes to college football, and it doesn't all fit in to the nicely fit 30-minute window. For example, the Paul Posluszny and Sean Lee Impact interview. Make sure to check it out on NittanyGameWeek.com for web-exclusive content. Spend some time on the site to see what we are up to on the show.
And a new recipe, too, Tom.
And a new recipe. Another new recipe. That's we're always thinking about the NGW Eats. We finished with some Pride Pooches. Show us your spirit. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We're going to see you next time.